I power walk down to that pile of gummy bears and back. I should probably set the pile out further, or closer, so I can get at them.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy, what day is it? Tuesday? Man, it feels like Wednesday. Oh, brother. It feels like it's been a long day. But how is everyone doing? How are you guys doing today? It is Tuesday, so that means another Power Up podcast episode. We are back. We are live. It feels like I haven't done these in a while. Even though our last show, we had Phoenix from Panda Sub 2000 on, so got to hang with him, talk with him. Great guy. Go follow him. He's fun. He's exciting. He's cool. Did you like that plug? That was like one of the best plugs I've ever done. But yes, we are back on to talk about the pop culture news. For anybody new here that may not be familiar with the show, it's a show that keeps ourselves up to date and sharp when it comes to pop culture. So that can range to anything that we find entertaining. You know, your anime, your video games, your manga, your TV shows, all that stuff. Like I said, to keep ourselves sharp, up to date, with the goal of at least hopefully reminding people that we can still be entertained for entertainment's sake. Unfortunately, we kind of have to go back to the past a little bit, that nostalgic feeling, because 80s and 90s, early 2000s, they were the best. They were the best times. Slowly, a lot of the woke garbage is getting removed, but it's still there. But hopefully we can still find our thrills and our kicks in entertainment without it being corrupted with a bunch of garbage. So, got some articles here from over the internet, I guess I could say, in terms of the sources that I follow. So it'll be fun. Kind of the big thing that everyone's talking about is Oblivion. A lot of people are enjoying the remaster. Some people have pointed out that there's still some DEI stupid shit still inside there, mainly with body type. So we'll take a look at that and kind of see how everything's going. And then, of course, we've got other articles that have caught my eye as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys are too. And if you enjoy it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Smash the bell to get notified when I go live. Right now, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and X. Slowly growing that Rumble. My goal is to make it the #1 channel for your retro gaming fun with streams. Why? Because I can. Because I am the best. The best ever. But in all seriousness, blessed and humbled that you guys take the time to hang out with me as we chat. All right, let's hop into it, shall we? Excuse me. I can feel the drainage happening as we speak, and it's annoying as shit. Excuse me, just a second. Let me take a sip here. Okie doke. So, guys, remember how Pal World was, in a fight against Nintendo? Nintendo slapped them with a lawsuit. Well, I just saw this over here at Video Game Chronicle. It's been a while since I've been keeping up to date at what's happening, but I figured, hey, let's take a look at it together and see what's up. What's up, Komanga, over on YouTube? How's it going, man? So, Pal World dev fights Nintendo lawsuit with comparison to Fallout, Monster Hunter, and more. So, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company claim Pal World infringes on their patents. Pocket Pair has challenged a lawsuit made by Nintendo by citing previous video games that used similar mechanics to Pal World, but which were not challenged by the Pokemon co-owner. So this is kind of their, looks like it's their answer to the lawsuit. Now, Nintendo, I think this here is where I do not like Nintendo, is them going after their people who you know, do things that kind of resemble their IP or what have you, and their patents and all that stuff. Because remember, these douchebags took down MU Paradise, which preserved a lot of games that you may not be able to get anymore because they're so bitchy about their IP. And you know, it's like every video game company has a problem. Sony has a problem, Nintendo has a problem, Microsoft has a problem. It's so annoying. This is my big issue here. Now, cuz they've gone after some people. Now, I understand when it comes to like, I don't know, illegally. See, I don't even know. I can't even think of an example. They've gone after people, you know, modders and all that stuff, to where it's like, well, if they bought the consoles originally and they're just modding it, then like, who gives a shit? They can do whatever they want, you know? You're good? Nice. Okay. So Nintendo and the Pokemon Company filed a lawsuit against Pocket Pair in Japan last year, alleging that Pal World infringes on 3 patents that are related to monster catching gameplay, all of which were initially filed by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company between February and July last year. Pal World was released on January 19th, 2024. So in an extensive post on GamesFray, Pocket Pair's defense against the lawsuit has been revealed. So in a series of preparatory briefs filed in February, Pocket Pair argues that Nintendo's patents in suit shouldn't have been granted because prior work using them was released before the date Nintendo claimed to have invented them. So addressing one patent about capturing characters by releasing fighting characters, monsters, or capture balls, Pocket Pair argues that its own Craftopia game did exactly the same thing. The studio then lists multiple games that it argues proves that a certain feature was already known before Nintendo filed the original patent applications. Claims that Rune Factory 5, Titanfall 2, hey, you leave Titanfall 2 out of this. It's a good game. And Pikmin 3 Deluxe allows players to release a monster or a capture item like a ball and fire in a direction by releasing a button. It also notes that Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Far Cry 5, and Tomb Raider already show that there can be different types of throwable objects. And Pocket Souls, Octopath Traveler, Monster Super League, and Final Fantasy 14 allow players to pick targets on a field and show how likely the capture operation to succeed. Defending another patent related to capturing characters, Pocket Pair points to Octopath Traveler, Monster Super League, Nexomon, Craftopia, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, Nukamon mod for Fallout, and Monster Hunter 4G. Nintendo and the Pokemon Company are each seeking 5 million yen, plus late payment fees. Released last year via Steam Early Access and Xbox Game Preview, Pal World was an immediate hit, tracking 25 million players in it just for its first month, according to Pocket Pair. So there you go. That's what they're trying. That is their argument, which I do agree that depending on what the patent is that Nintendo has, if it's so writtenly vague to where it's like, yeah, you're using a monster to fight and then you're using an item to throw it. It's like, dude, there are so many games that do the exact same thing. Why aren't you going after all of them? You're just ass mad that this clearly, like, let's be real, like, clearly influenced by Pokemon for sure, but you know, they've it's transformative enough that you can tell the difference between Pokemon and Pal World that the average person would realize, you know. That's what I think. But apparently that is their how they are going up against Nintendo by pointing out all those games. I just clicked this here to see where it takes us. This is Games Fray that they were talking about. I don't know. But interesting. Wonder what the outcome is. Part of me really hopes that Pal World does win because Nintendo needs to take a blow to realize that they need to stop being a bunch of bitches when it comes to their to this sort of thing. Especially when they refuse to give in terms of like one-to-ones of like ports versus ROMs and all that stuff. Because some of their parts are still inferior to the original, and it's like some people will still buy the product, but if you're doing like a subpar port or whatever, then no, it's like you might as well just emulate it. But yeah, I'm more on the side of Pal World. I just want Nintendo to finally like get stopped in its tracks with all this stupid crap. Komanga says, I agree with you, Greg. Nintendo needs a kick in the rear. All these companies really need a kick in the rear. They do. They need to wake up from their narcissism and their ignorance of everything and listen to the customers because, like, even with the Nintendo Switch 2 pricing and all that, like, people will buy it if the pricing's right, but instead they're just doubling down going, well, you shouldn't be broke. It's like, dude... And like we had to do this because of tariffs. And it's like, oh, so like, but you're already rich. You already have money. Some people don't have that and they're not going to go out and buy the newest product. Well, this is my biggest thing too. Like, I feel like I've never been one to like get the next best thing right away because, it's like you buy it and then a month later it's already obsolete sort of thing. I've never been one to fall for that. And I think that mindset is actually quite harmful. And but companies just don't care about that sort of stuff, and they're just pushing it anyway because they know there's going to be suckers out there that will do it. It's unfortunate, but it's here. Like this, for example, over at Tech for Gamer, the PS6 and the next gen Xbox still won't deliver 120 FPS gaming as standards. A major poll concludes. Waiting for the PS6. Dude, I don't even know if I even want to get a PS6 at this point. So with the life cycle of the PS5 and Xbox Series XS almost coming to an end, this is where I get lost in like release dates and all this stuff, because I feel like the PS5 and the Xbox Series XS literally just came out. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I am so out of the loop with like the dates of all the stuff being released, is that when I see something like this, I'm like, is it really, are we already there where like we're expecting now the PS6 and stuff? Because now it's getting to the point where they're releasing a console that's like half good or something like that, and then you're just going to expect, well, why get it? Because they're just going to release a pro version, It's not going to make any sense. And then the next thing the next thing you know, it's the brand new console is already there. Let's see, and this is where I'm starting to lean towards the like, if I want to play games right away, I'd rather just now start getting it PC or emulation. And if I were ever to get like new consoles or something like that, like, I'm collecting it at this point. It's got to be magical or I ain't buying. I know, right? So speculation on the PS6 and the next-gen Xbox consoles has already started to begun. If anything, fans have concluded that 120 frames per second, or FPS, will still not become a standard even with the next generation of console. Now, this is the other thing, too. Like, I don't care about frames per second. Like, I'm still running... I haven't even dabbled with 4K yet. Like, I really have no interest in moving over to 4K at the moment. Because... I don't know, like, well, looks like the article is getting to kind of where I think why it matters. Many believe that hardware has reached a plateau in recent times, and without a major breakthrough, consoles will continue to lag behind PC. See, that's exactly my point. And I don't even think about, like, with consoles. I think with, like, technology in general. We're, like, aside from AI and all that, we're reaching a point where hardware is like at the plateau. Because now we're getting into the microcosm of like, oh, now we got this amount of pixels or whatever. And it's like, if it's super not noticeable, then there's no point, So here's the poll. And a lot of people are saying no. From a new poll, 65% of players still don't believe that the next-gen console will be able to handle 120 FPS. Many argue that the push for 60 frames per second will continue, also taking into account the fact that not every console owner has a display that supports 120 hertz. Yeah, exactly. Sony and Microsoft marketed the PS5 and the Series X consoles as supporting output up to 120 FPS and 4K resolution. However, they can only do so across a handful of titles, such as indie releases or small-scale games. Moreover, 60 frames per second on these consoles is only possible with the performance mode, which sacrifices visual fidelity and resolution scaling. Also took 3 console generations to finally be able to run most games on 60 frames per second. As such, the next breakthrough may still be a generation away. While we've hit a hardware plateau, much of that can be attributed to the software side lagging behind. However, modern technologies such as FrameGen or PSSR are gradually evolving, easing the load on consoles and enabling improved performance. The next-gen consoles are also expected to lean heavily on machine learning. It could significantly enhance performance even if we don't see a dramatic leap in hardware, especially when accounting for inflation and taxes. Now, depending on what the machine learning is, I think that'd be pretty good. Like if the machine could learn that like if it's overheating, then to do what it can to stop overheating, without affecting the gameplay, that'd be pretty interesting or something like that. But then I think that's getting into like quantum machine learning or something like that, We may say 120 frames per second become the new standard in upcoming years, perhaps with the mid-gen refresh of a next-generation console. Well, there you go. Oh, this news article was literally based on a Reddit post. Probably not the best, but oh boy. Well, that's interesting. But speaking of the, mentioning the PS5, apparently renting PS5s is proving extremely popular in Japan. Now, we read an article about this like not too long ago. This is like a day old. But apparently it's actually doing really, really well in Japan, with most stores selling out. The service allows players to take home a PS5 for around $6 a week. Now, I remember reading about this before. My big thing would be at some point you're going to reach the amount to what it would be like to just own it. So I'm wondering if like stores would be able to kind of do this sort of thing while you rent and pay for it. And then depending on if you really like it and you keep it, then you pay a certain amount and then you just own it sort of thing. Because I remember back in the days, like some companies would, like some stores would do that or something. So renting PS5 in Japan is reportedly extremely popular, with most stores at capacity. So Japanese retailer GEO has told IT Media News that the service, which the company began earlier this year, has been, quote, more popular than they expected. The service was originally launched due to the limited availability of the PS5. The service, which is provided by 400 stores across Japan, lets players rent a PS5 console for either 8 days for 980 yen. Or is it yen over there or zen? I want to say zeni, but that's Dragon Ball Z. Or that would be the equivalent of $6.62, or for 15 days for $12.02 before returning it to the store. GEO claims that the release of Monster Hunter Wilds, a series that has always been extremely popular in Japan, has spurred the success of the service. While Sony isn't actively involved in the program, GEO claims that it had, quote, deep discussions with the platform holder ahead of the launch of the rental program. A UK leasing agency, Raylo, offers a similar service. Players can choose to lease standard or digital PS5 consoles, PlayStation Portable handhelds, the PlayStation VR 2 headset, or a PS5 Pro console on the rolling monthly contract. You can also sign up for a 12-month, 24-month, or 36-month terms for low monthly payments. For example, the digital edition of the PS5 console costs £21.95 per month to lease, while the option to cancel at any time. By committing to 12, 24, 36 months, the price is lowered to $16.49, $11.99, and $10.99 per month, respectively. While renting consoles isn't new, and I kind of like this because it makes me think of the past, because my folks would rent the Nintendo. So it kind of makes me think about that again. While renting consoles isn't new, it's possible that its increased popularity is due to the lack of the PS5 price cut 5 years into its life cycle. Already 5 years, dang. And not a good gaming library. Alas, they suck. You would think that they would have a good gaming library at this point, but they don't. They do not. Gaming library. Taking a gander over at X over there. Hey, everybody. Hanging out. Where was I at? I was making fun of their game library. So while renting consoles isn't new... Okay, I already read that. 5-year life cycle, and in the case of some SKUs, price increases. Last week, Sony announced that the PS5 Digital Edition would get a price increase effective immediately. Retarded. The PS5 Digital Edition now costs £500, up from its previous price of $449, an increase of $50. Meanwhile, in the UK, the console now costs $429.99, up from its previous $389.99, an increase of $40. This is the second time Sony has raised the price of the PS5 Digital Edition. Well, there's your problem. First of all, it's the Digital Edition. They really want you not to own anything. The fools. I like to own my stuff. So they raised the price previously back in 2022, and the original cost was $400 in Europe, $360 in the UK, meaning the new price marks a total increase of 100/70 since launch. Make it make sense, I say. And this says, yeah, the PS5 Digital Edition. So it's not even the Pro Edition. It's like it's the first one, the first edition. Why? Why bother? Oh my gosh. Just look into the emulation community. I'm sure someone will figure out how to emulate it at some point. Great games are a rarity, says Komanga over on YouTube. This is very true. Very true indeed. I don't think there's really any great games nowadays in the modern gaming sphere. Not until all this garbage gets removed. Or someone crashes and burns. I was really hoping it was Ubisoft, but then that, Transcend or whatever it's called, bought them out or saved their ass. Man, I was wanting to see that sucker burn up in flames. Notice how Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't being talked about anymore? Like we didn't see that coming. Let's see. What else we got? I'm just looking over here. Apparently I have a lot of Video Game Chronicle articles in the beginning, but that's all right. We'll be bouncing around here. So we've talked about Sony. Microsoft, to me, is pretty much dead. Like, what's there to talk about with them? Apparently, a new Mario is going to be coming around on the Switch too. Doug Bowser says stay tuned and assures players that most of the Nintendo's IP will make its way to the Switch too. You know, just don't be poor, as Nintendo would say. Don't worry, everyone. You can play Mario. Just make sure to buy the Switch 2 and spend $10 on a retarded demo disc on how to use Switch 2, which I find hilarious because you know someone will buy it, and you'll know someone will immediately just upload the video of everything. So there's no point in buying it. I can't wait for that to happen. That's going to be hilarious. Like, it's just, they put a lot of hard work into it. So just spend $10 and get that demo. It's like, why not just go on YouTube and look for it for free? Komanga says, yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows came and went like a fart. I know, exactly. Also, thanks for subscribing, Tony, over on YouTube. A solid but strong name, Tony. So many players were expecting to see a new 3D Mario game during the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct earlier this month, given that the latest entry, Super Mario Odyssey, was released 8 years ago. Instead, Donkey Kong Bonanza, a 3D platformer starring Donkey Kong, which appears to use an engine similar to that of Odyssey, even if its development team remains a mystery. What? Wait a minute. I know I skipped some stuff there. Let me read this again. Instead, Nintendo revealed Donkey Kong Bonanza, a 3D platformer starring Donkey Kong, which appears to use an engine similar to that of Super Mario Odyssey, even if its development team remains a mystery. Okay. That flowed a little bit better. I still don't see why this was like tacked on the end here. But anyway. So in an interview with CNN, ouch. Why would you go over there? Bowser was asked about the lack of a main 3D or 2D Mario game confirmed for Switch 2, but Bowser suggests that fans simply need to hold fire because one will eventually be on the way. No, I think they need to hold fire on that price, that stupid price. Stay tuned, he replied. You know, we have a long, long catalog and a long list of intellectual property that I'm sure will make its way to the platform. Well, if, people buy the platform. You're already telling me not to be poor, which, I try to do on a daily basis. But, yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Sorry for that anticlimactic build-up to a possible witty line, but failure. The concern among some players is that if Donkey Kong Bonanza is the work of the main Super Mario Odyssey team, okay, a new 3D Mario from that team could be years away. However, Nintendo is once again being secretive about who's developing the team, or the game. For several recent projects, Nintendo has refused to comment publicly on which specific development team is behind them. This appears to be the case again with Donkey Kong Bonanza. When VGC asked Nintendo who was creating Bonanza at a Switch 2 press event last week, spokesperson said, please wait for the game to release and check the credits. That just sounds like such a douchebag answer. Like, I'm just picturing like some stuck-up snotty guy being like, please wait for the game to release and check the credits. It's like, dude, could you like just be like, well, I can't say anything right now. You can expect for it to be released, and then you can, I just feel like that could have been worded way better. It just sounds so snooty. Similarly, when asked by IGN who was working on Bonanza, Nintendo of America Vice President of Product and Player Experience, Bill Trinan, said, it's a very good question. You'll have to stay tuned. We always like to start by showcasing the game and getting people focused on the gameplay, but we'll have some information to share about the developer in due time. See, now that's a good response. Whoever this other guy was up here is a douchebag. Komanga says his last name is Bowser. That tells you all that you need to know. I know, right? The planets could not have aligned better. So Nintendo fans won't be entirely without Mario on day one because of Mario Kart. I saw that coming. The first entirely new home mainline Mario Kart console game in 11 years. In a recent Mario Kart World hands-on preview, we wrote, while it may not be immediately apparent given their two entirely different genres, Mario Kart World will do for Switch 2 what The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild did for the original console. Both games take a respected, well-loved series, and rather than giving players a visual improvement, take on the formula they come to expect, instead upend things with open-world innovation. That's what I find funny, because a lot of people actually want Zelda games to go back to the OG. They kind of did that with the remake of Link's Awakening. But it would be nice for it to just be not a remake. I guess you could say the new one, the new Zelda one, Echoes of Wisdom or something, which I need to play that one still, but in due time. Alrighty. So, wabam. We talked about this a little bit in past episodes, but this weirdo, Alyssa Mercante, apparently exposes private information of prominent YouTubers in an amended lawsuit complaint against Smash JT. So this is a day-old article, but it's been a while since we looked at what's happening here, so let's take a gander. Gosh, that face. Never have I seen a more punchable face. Did Alyssa Mercante just reveal very private and identifying information about a plethora of major online personalities while claiming in her Smash JT lawsuit that she has been damaged by the very same sort of behavior? ? So in late 2024, former Kotaku senator, well, I mean, the way how scummy she is, she could be a senator, I guess you could say, in terms of being pure slime. Senior editor, former senior editor, because she got fired for being a dumb bitch, filed a lawsuit against YouTube personality Smash JT in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York, represented by attorney Ron Coleman of the Coleman Law Firm. Smash JT filed a motion to dismiss the original complaint, asserting that the statements at issue were either protected under the First Amendment as satire, hyperbole, opinion, or lacked the specificity required to qualify as actionable defamation under New York and California law. Coleman also pointed out that the Mercante Smash JT lawsuit was filed in New York. In his motion to dismiss, he challenged the court's authority to hear the case, arguing that Smash JT, who resides in California and operates its platform from that state, does not have sufficient ties to New York to warrant jurisdiction. Oh man, get out of California. It's not good either. He maintained that merely posting online content accessible in New York does not establish the kind of direct intentional conduct toward the state required under jurisdictional law. Oh my gosh. I cannot read. Coleman's response additionally emphasized that statements such as, quote, she sucks explicitive, that would be dick, for money, while vulgar and crude, were expressions of opinion, not verifiable factual claims, even though there's literally screenshots of her saying that line. But, oh well. The defense argued that Mercante herself had posted jokes on social media which referenced similar language. Look at that. Didn't even have to read the next sentence. I just knew it. I just said, I've seen the pictures, and then the article backs me up. And that Tarzia's commentary, that would be Jeff Tarzia, Smash JT, fell well within the realm of protected speech. And then you have a full disclosure here. So, represented the lawsuit by Ron Coleman, Coleman Law Firm, That Park Place, WDW Pro, and Valiant Renegade are likewise legally represented by Mr. Coleman when necessary. So the amended complaint file. So April 18th, Mercante submitted a First Amendment complaint in the U.S. District Court of the Eastern District of New York for her lawsuit against JT. The amended filing expands the scope and structure of the original 37-page complaint, more than doubling its length to 79 pages. Oh my gosh. Rest in peace to anyone who has to read 79 pages of a madman talking out of their ass. The FAC retains the original legal claims, including defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, torturous interference with contract, and a bias-related harassment under New York's civil rights law, but significantly increases the volume of allegations, reference, and exhibits intended to support the overall narrative of harm. Oh my gosh. Much of... Oh my gosh. They are picking like the best pictures. We all know like this is like meme status pick. That is the look of someone realizing that they're in very deep shit and don't have any claim, any sort of claim, legal claim whatsoever. Throwing all their chips on the table. Anyway, much of the expansion involves additional screenshots, commentary on YouTube content, and alleged examples of coordinated harassment. Didn't she have like a list of like people who like did YouTube videos specifically talking about her? I guarantee you I saw that there was a list made. Oh my gosh. The self-awareness and the narcissism from her is amazing. Come and fight me, you pussy. And then like 3 women were like, okay, I'll fight you. Oh, wait a minute. No. We can't stream this. Like, you know, you got to come alone. Telling Vera Dark that. Or Vara. Well, you're not streaming it because I don't want your disgusting hate group. But come alone. Oh my gosh. What an abusive bitch. The filing also seeks to reinforce jurisdiction by documenting connections between the defendant, JT, and New York-based platforms, web service, and collaborators. 2 notable additions to the amended complaint are now legal theories that had not been formally introduced in the original filing. Prima facie tort. I don't know if I said that right, but there you go. This is a seldom invoked New York common law claim that provides a civil remedy when a defendant intentionally inflicts harm without excuse. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so like bored reading this. Not because the article is bad, it's just because it's ridiculous that, you know, Smash has to go through this. Like even I'm getting like tired of reading this because this is just so retarded and a waste of time. The FAC presents this as an alternative theory of liability. Should the court find that the specific actions do not constitute defamation or another well-established cause of action, in practice, New York courts rarely sustain prima facie tort claims while the alleged conduct overlaps with the other recognized torts. I'm skipping this. If you guys want to read this, like, go ahead. But, like, oh my gosh. This is where I obviously would fail as a lawyer because I would just be like, oh my gosh. Stochastic terror? Not yet recognized as a tort under New York law. Then why even try to use it? Plaintiff argues that Tarzia's repeated invocation of her name, likeness, and identity across multiple platforms amounted to a calculated strategy to provoke and outsource harassment. Or you do all this insanity stuff and then people just respond to it. Oh my gosh. It's literally rules for thee but not for me sort of nonsense is what this is. Ugh. In the lawsuit, Mercante asserts that Smash JT engaged in a prolonged and escalating campaign of online harassment, largely centered around his commentary on her role as a senior editor at Kotaku and her public defense of the game council consulting firm Sweet Baby Inc. Well, I mean, this just proves right here that Smash did nothing wrong. Public defense. You literally made a public defense trying to support this dumpster fire of a consulting firm. You're a public figure. Deal with it. According to the FAC, between March 2024, March 2025, apparently Smash created at least 90 videos in which Mercante was either a central subject or prominently referenced. The complaint states these videos amount to over 150 hours of cumulative content, many of which include her name in the title or her image in thumbnails. Tarzia, through his YouTube channel and blog, often discussed Mercante's reporting, public statements, and affiliations with gaming-relevant controversies, particularly the backlash involving Sweet Baby Inc. And it further alleges that harassment towards Mercante intensified following the publication of new content by Tarzia, though it does not accuse him of directing or orchestrating such behavior. But isn't... Wait, so this one... Wait, you said... He's harassing me and orchestrating something. Well, let me go in a little bit, more. And it's not direct. He's not directly. It's like you literally just change what you're talking about. Cites the appearance of her personal information, including a legend post on Kiwi Farm. Ah, yes. Remember when Smash JT demanded Kiwi Farms to post all of her information on there? Remember that? Remember? Say what you will about Nick, but remember when Nick and Ty was trying to ask Kiwi Farms to do something and they got mad for asking? Yeah, that's the same thing. It's Kiwi Farms' fault that they got my information. As a consequences on the heightened online attention. No evidence is provided that Tarzia posted that information himself, but the complaint implies a casual link between his videos and the timing to the third-party disclosures. Oh my gosh. Kiwi Farms. Sick face says, come on. Yeah, I know. Whatever. A certain claim in the FAC is that Tarzia made defamatory statements, including the allegation that Mercante had previously engaged in activities considered unlawful under solicitation statutes. The complaint asserts this claim is categorically false and damaging, and that Tarzia continued repeatedly or implying it even after being contacted by Mercante's legal counsel. And I believe Tarzia's legal counsel responded back and said, yeah, go fuck yourself. Any other problems, you talk to me. That would be Ron responding to them. And that's me paraphrasing, by the way. The FAC includes screenshots and citations of specific videos where the plaintiff contends these statements were either made directly or strongly insinuated. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this article just goes on. I didn't know it would be this long. Holy crap, this is a long article. No offense to this article, but what's... Okay, we have yet to get to the point where she exposes private... I'm going to just jump to that, because that's like... At this point, I would have hoped that the article would have gotten to that, but like, it's going on pretty long. It's well padded, I guess I could say. Ugh. From Tarzia's side, he has constantly framed his content as criticism of game journalists and industry practices, often positioning Kotaku and by extension Mercante as representatives of what he views as activist-driven coverage. His defenders argue that much of his content falls under protected opinion, satire, and rhetorical hyperbole, and that he has discouraged direct harassment. In past responses, Tarzia has publicly denied responsibility for third-party threats or doxing and has maintained that his content constitutes lawful Commentary. So while the original complaint claims Mercante was forced out of Kotaku and had her contract bought out due to Tarzia's conduct, or you're just a terrible journalist and a liar, the FAC expands upon and writes hit pieces. The FAC expands upon the timeline and introduces more direct language accusing Tarzia of being the proximate cause of her terminations. Here we go. The amended complaint reiterates the accusation that Smash JT engaged in or encouraged dox behavior, defined here as the public dissemination of private or identifying information, something that these people do on the regular. Just a reminder. Any sort of online activist, they do this. But then when you do it to them, they get super mad about it. Gosh, it is so tiresome. This is why I don't weep when, people just do the Bugs Bunny method of fighting fire with fire, because it's so hypocritical and so tiresome. And expanding on this claim, the amended complaints introduces additional content creators who are not listed as defendants but are described as part of a broader online ecosystem, allegedly contributing to the harassment campaign. And who would that be? These individuals are identified in the filing by both their real name and their online monikers, along with additional information regarding where. And she just posted this. What a piece of shit! What a garbage person. And she has the gall to say they're doxing me, but here's all the information. Like, here's some additional stuff and their information. Gosh. So this would be Toasty with the Mosty, Rev Says Desu, 8-Bit Eric, and Mantra Dukes. So according to the complaint, these creators frequently publish content that mirror Tarzia's language, themes, and timing, allegedly amplifying negative attention towards Mercante. No, I think all that negative attention was brought on by herself. Filing stops short of alleging direct wrongdoings by these individuals, but implies their coverage further intensified the harassment environment. One additional figure mentioned in the complaint is the YouTuber known as Real Hypnotic One. While also not a named defendant, the amended filing goes into unusual detail in attempting to establish Hypnotic's location. References shipping labels for Amazon packaging visible in his manga. Okay, dude, come on. Are you seriously trying, to show people, I'm not the one doxing, and you're zooming in on Amazon packages of, manga and, video and unboxing video labels? Are you kidding me? Dude, what a scummy... What a worm. Jeez. The complaint argues that this geographic tie supports jurisdictional claims against Tarzia, who has collaborated with Hypnotic in the past. Oh my gosh. At the same time, the amended filing, publication of real names and approximate locations of these individuals, none of whom who are co-defendants, are drawn scrutiny and an accusation of hypocrisy. The document presents these disclosures while simultaneously asserting that the publication of Mercante similar identifiers constitute unlawful harm or harmful conduct. Should also be noted that in this initial complaint, Mercante published Smash JT's full home address while redacting her own. And she also, just to add, she also contacted his wife, by the way. Gosh. Again, the narcissism from her is amazing. She, in her head, she can do no wrong. Oh my gosh. Well, we got to the meat of kind of what I wanted about this. So you guys can read the rest of this over at that Park Place if you want. But oh my gosh. Well, that's disgusting. This face just explains everything. She knows exactly what she's doing. All right. So before we get to the talk of Oblivion, so Last of Us Season 2 is out. Well, a lot of people are review bombing it. Because apparently they have the infamous golf club scene. I got a couple articles here. We got one from like Bounding into Comics. Another that Park Place. And Tech for Gamers. So season 2, episode 2 just dropped, and fans don't seem to like it that much. The show, well, why would you even like The Last of Us, literally part 2? Like, anybody who likes it is a fool. The show began with a near perfect Rotten Tomatoes rating of over 96%. Yeah. Ted Cruz, Zodiac Killer, says, isn't she a waitress now? Who, Mercante? Look. You got to do what you got to do to live, as far as I'm concerned. Last of Us Season 2 Part 2 just dropped, and fans do not seem... Oh, okay, we already read that, with fans and critics calling it the best game TV adaptation of all time. Notice how they have to specifically say TV adaptation, because if you use just any game adaptation of all time, Last of Us Part 2 ain't it. It's just a rehash of the video game, says Komanga. So now after the second episode, while critics' ratings is still relatively high, The Last of Us Episode 2 is facing a massive review bombing. It's like the leaks all over again, which has led to a significant drop in the ratings to just 53%. Fans were already quite skeptical about the casting choices in the TV show. Yeah, like how the main actress of Ellie looks nothing like Ellie, and how we can be... How is one supposed to lose themselves in the environment and stuff when, like, her forehead is like, you know, a giant billboard? Jeez. And that's why she says she's non-binary, because people bash on her looks. That's my assumption of why she claims she's non-binary. I read something about that too, but whatever. True, but you know she thinks she's above it, probably bringing up her liberal arts degree all the time. I bring up my liberal arts degree all the time. You see it every day whenever I do content. Oh my gosh. Anyway, fans were already quite skeptical about the casting choices in the TV show. Yeah, like on how Abby is not a man, pretty much. How Ellie doesn't look like Ellie. How Pedro, well, is just Pedro, the weirdo. But the new episode has somehow led them to review bomb it, marking a significant dip in the review score. Okay, initially received a perfect score from the first episode, has now fallen... Okay, you literally said, like, kind of the same thing up here, except 53, now you're saying 50. Dear, like, get to the point. There are multiple reasons for the fall, but it also relates to a specific event that occurs. When The Last of Us Part 2 released, it also saw a similar trend. Fans weren't pleased with some of the storyline choices. Oh, you think? People were pissed when those leaks came out. Not the leaks coming out, but what the leaks showed and what they were doing, what Neil bastardized his own story. However, the game still won record game awards for the time. Rigged Game Awards, mind you, and no one ever talks about that return rate of The Last of Us Part 2, to the point where certain game stores wouldn't even accept returns of The Last of Us Part 2 because they were coming in so much. The show primarily follows the same plot line, but fans also... Wait, is this supposed to be Abby, right? She should have been Ellie. The show primarily follows the same plot, but fans also raised a lot of eyebrows with the casting, especially for Ellie and Abby. Larger criticism centers around Abby, where Caitlin Dever doesn't resemble her game counterpart at all. Yeah, Neil, what the hell? Why didn't you just literally have a man be Abby? Because that's what you did in the video game. Dude, I saw when people like saw this and they were bashing, like people were trying to be like, oh my gosh, you just hate women. Like women have this type of body and stuff. It's like, dude, no, they don't. Like not without major pumping, major working out all day, every day, and straight up steroids. That is the only way Abby got into that in a post-apocalyptic world. She was a soldier. Doesn't resemble her game. What are your thoughts on... Wait, that's it? That's all this article. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there's the article. That's pretty much all it had to say. Is that people are review bombing that. Great article there, Tech for Gamers. Way to dive in deep. Bounding into Comics has an article specifically talking about how Kuckerman apparently believes he was successful in recapturing the moment of Abby and Joel's confrontation for the HBO series. Did you ruin it even more? Did you have Joel do stuff that Joel from the first game would absolutely not do, like telling Abby his fucking name? Gosh, that was so stupid. While most video game adaptations fail to faithfully adapt, he and HBO showrunner Craig Mazin were able to pull off just that when it came to the retelling of Abby and Joel's infamous confrontation in the live action scene. This does not look like Abby or Ellie. Oh my gosh, just looks terrible. Just look at this. Look at this. This looks terrible. Why would anybody watch this? Oh my gosh. As seen in the recently aired second episode of Season 2, Through the Valley, rather than delaying the inevitable and opening themselves up to a month-long storm of questions regarding whether or not they would actually go through with it. Yeah, so Cuckman pretty much, again, flipped everybody off. Instead chose to rip the Band-Aid off and have Abby, Caitlin Dever, use Joel's head as a driving range earlier in their season, take on The Last of Us Part 2. That pic hurt my eyes. Abby had top surgery in the show. Oh no. Oh dear Lord Almighty. Intended by Druckmann to be one of the more emotional and shocking scenes in the PlayStation duology, while some players walked away from the game having experienced those exact same feelings. I muscled through that game. I got to it. I wouldn't have even cared if it was just all about Abby. Like, that is what The Last of Us should have been, is literally stories of different people's experiences of living through the post-apocalyptic, fungus world. We did not need to see Ellie and Joel's story anymore, by the way. And the Fireflies were going to, kill them all regardless. So it made no sense that Ellie got so upset that it was my choice to, do that stuff. It's like, motherfucker, they were going to kill everybody anyway. Dude, terrible writing. Just terrible writing. More found themselves unimpressed and even outraged as to what they saw as a narrative, nonsensical attempt, as it asked players to believe that, despite everything, Joel had somehow either forgot his post-apocalyptic survival skills or chose to randomly abandon them to subvert expectations. That is what, I was saying, when I played this game. He was 100% not Joel from part 1. Oh, my gosh. However, despite the clash, and this is so stupid. Really? You killed my dad. It's like, dude, how many dads died in this apocalyptic, anyway. Kuckman believes that the scene's live-action recreation was wholly able to create the heartbreaking feeling, or at least the intended one, of the digital original. I'm sure. Yeah, sure. X to doubt. Speaking to Entertainment Weekly's Nick Romano regarding the ins and out of Joel's on-screen death alongside the aforementioned Mazin, Druckmann's reflection was preempted by his partner's reflection that it wasn't surprising to me when Neil talked about Joel's death when we were just starting to work on the first season. Part of what makes The Last of Us relevant to those of us who aren't living in a fungal apocalypse is that it portrays the shattering nature of loss. It says this is the probably whatever Nick's talks about what is left behind when someone is torn away from you. Then you start to wonder what price we all pay in our lives, all of us, for caring about people that much. This just sounds like cheap excuse to justify the terrible writing. From there, Druckmann himself affirmed, so many times adaptations don't, and you can't recapture the moment. Here, I feel so lucky that we did. Why do you feel lucky? They're both terrible moments. They're both moments that should never have happened to begin with. It's just that you sold your soul to woke's retardedness. And look where that's got you, by the way. You have the new Intergalactica, that gay ass game that's coming out that looks like garbage with the woman, the shaved head woman, whatever. And then you can't produce anything good, so you have to re-release The Last of Us for like the 5th time or something like that. Honestly, knowing now Pedro and Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie, I had no doubt that we would, because I know how they act and what they throw into it. The fact that it still works just speaks to the magic of these incredible actors. Well, physical feature-wise, they're not incredible. Let's just say that. I mean, this guy straight up lost his mind. Reflecting on the fact that, unlike in the game, the live-action Abby instead preempts her killing of Joel by outright explaining her full motives to him and the audience. Malazan ultimately concluded that when it came to deciding upon this change, it's really just about imagining how angry she is and how hurt, but also how correct she is in her mind. What is important for her to convey is that what he did was wrong, said the show. No, what he did was right. I'm sorry to say this, but what Joel did was right, because they were going to execute him anyway, because they were lying scumbags. So the Fireflies got what they deserved. This is what I love, is like this argument of like, oh, revenge hurts both sides. It's like, no, that's not at all how revenge works at all. The whole concept of every sort of revenge we ever see in the idea of entertainment is something unjustified happens to like one side and the other person takes revenge on it, and that's it. That's the end. Gosh, this is the end where you need to feel sorry. Like, it's this weird, it's happening all over the place. It's this concept of the evil people that are evil. Like, they're really the good guys. Like, we should feel sorry for them. And it's like, no, they're evil. We shouldn't feel sorry for them at all. I mean, there are plenty of like games and movies out there that do better revenge stories than this piece of garbage. So just watch those. The end. Guilty. Sentenced to die. No argument, no debating, no nothing. I do love how Pedro portrayed this kind of acceptance of it here. Of it there. The truth is, what he did is what she's doing now. We kill for the people we love. Joel has an experience that neither Ellie nor Abby have, and we're going to explore this further in the season. And that is the experience of loving a child, which is different than being a child and loving a parent. What? I don't even get what that... I may be zoned out at this point, but what the hell is he talking about? I don't know. Anyway, oh, that was the end of the article. Amazing. That Park Place also wrote about the article here too, but let's see what they talk about. Actually, you know what? Forget it. We're moving on. I think my mind has had enough of The Last of Us Part 2 already. Oh, one last thing before we dive into like kind of what people are talking about with Oblivion. I found this interesting over at Phantom Pulse. Remember old Cowboy Bebop, the Netflix series that failed so miserably? Remember Daniela Pineda, who bashed the fans for her supposed like warped idea that like she was going after like, you know, people hated. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. She bashed the fans for hating the show because it looks like it was like absolute garbage. Well, guess what? Apparently she's backtracked on her decisions of what she thinks of Cowboy Bebop fans 3 years after the show's release. Someone needs to be relevant again. So actress Daniela Pineda, who played Faye Valentine in the Netflix panned live-action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop, backtracked on her previous comments where she derided fans of the original anime. Speaking of which, I heard that Lazarus anime is pretty good. I think that's made by the same guy who made Cowboy Bebop. You should check it out. If you recall, back in August of 2021, Panita posted an update to her Instagram story called Fan Apology. She stated in the video, "Hey guys, as you know, our Cowboy Bebop first look dropped today, which was so exciting. I just wanted to address a couple things that keep coming up in the comments amongst fans." She then proceeded to sarcastically deride critics of the first look, saying, "First, I wanted to apologize to the fans that I did not anatomically match the Faye Valentine character. 6 foot double D size breast, 2-inch waist. You know, they looked everywhere for that woman. They couldn't find her. It was kind of weird, so they just went with my short ass." I know, I am, right? Even though there's literally cosplayers who do a better job than her. But go off, girl. Oh my gosh, look at that face right there. There's talk about, like, can we put Danielle in a time machine and maybe give her different parents so she had different genetic information? Dude, the narcissism from this. No one complained about that. People were complaining because literally the show went out of the way for every character to look right except Faye. If you were going to make her like that, which with her setup, like, I remember thinking back in the day, if you're going to go that route, then you need to not do that with, like, oh, everybody else, like, has their iconic looks except for Faye. Like, don't do that. Like, if you're going to give Faye a more realistic, natural outfit, then everyone else need to have the same thing. That's what you needed to do, but you didn't. But, I mean, not, you know, for some people who actually watch the show, I didn't, thank goodness, because I'm smart. You know, they were, you know, sorry for bringing up old wounds, but, you know, we got to do this. We got to do this to stay up to date. Okay, so she's that. I mean, and again, that face just explains it all. Like, that is the look of someone trying to be funny and sarcastic, but really comes off as a pompous douche. She then addressed criticism of her character's outfit. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I wanted to apologize that the outfit I'm wearing is not exactly what she wears in the anime. Again, there's literally cosplayers who have done this like 1-to-1 and could still move about and do everything. She continued, "You know, we tried, but doing stunts in tissue paper, things disappear, they rip. Sometimes it just got so lost." Next, she claimed, "Anyway, like I was saying, that original costume, they made a couple of them, but like I said, they sort of got slurped up in my various crevices, never to be retrieved again, so we really needed to build something that could withstand the test of time." I know exactly, Ted Cruz. He says, "Who? Where is she now? She must be looking for right-wing grifter bucks. She'll be on Tim Pool soon enough." I keep accidentally clicking the the message above. The video then transitioned to a Rick roll with Rick Atlas. Gosh, I hate it when the left tries to meme. They're so terrible at it. Playing over a comment Panita made on the Hollywood Reporter's Instagram that states, "Oh man, they better not ruin this. I mean, where's Ed? They better not mess this up. Why isn't Faye half naked?" No one ever asked for that. This is again the dilute. You know, they say they like project all this stuff onto others, saying, "Oh, you know, they're gooners, they're, you know, perverts, they're this and that," when literally they're the ones that are the real perverts and all that stuff. It's like, dude, like, just own up to it. Like, don't be a little bitch. Just own up to it. I do like the pupper, though. Also shows Panita typing a new comment. Cowboy Bebop drops November 19th on Netflix. So there you go. There was all that hate. A few months after deriding fans of the anime, she stood by her comments, telling Deadline, "It was definitely my first interaction with very, very vocal trolls. Social media..." Oh, now they're trolls. "Social media gives access to pretty much anyone who wants to say anything." Yeah, it's called free speech, bitch. "Although I feel like some people would be disheartened, I found a way to clap back." That was a terrible clap back, by the way, with that video that I gave, which was very cheeky and silly. It was just so cheeky and silly. I'm a big silly. Rather than stay quiet, which is usually what everybody wants you to do. No. We didn't, like, no one cared if you responded. If anything, responding, like, fed the trolls even more, and they laughed at it because you got ass hurt about it. I just felt so inclined to say something. She continued. I felt like response was definitely in the spirit of Faye. Oh, girl, you did not capture the spirit of Faye, by the way. Also, I got Steve Bloom's blessings, the voice of Spike, who backed me up and was like, all right, guys, I don't care what you say. If that guy backs me up, no one can say anything. Well, it just goes to shows that, you're big piles of shit then. For literally insulting the people who made you where you are today. Specifically pointing at Steve Bloom, by the way. Won't deny that I enjoy his voice acting. But him as a person, never meet your idols, man, because they will disappoint you. So now, while speaking with the director for her upcoming film, The Accountant 2, she has completely changed her story. She said, I want to clarify something. Because I'm coming up on this film, I got to clarify something. I want to live again, Clarence. I started, noticing my voice was going into, what is it, Jimmy Stewart? I want to live. So years ago... So years ago, when the franchise came out on Netflix, I was shooting a movie in Puerto Rico, and I was goofing off, and I made some, and I'm not used to anyone watching my videos. Oh, and I made this dumb video kind of poking fun at myself because I was getting all of these DMs for people saying, you're terrible and you're fat, go away. Just awful, awful messages. Oh, okay. So you were making fun of yourself. Oh, my gosh. So I just made this on a whim Instagram story just joking about the fact that sorry guys, I'm sorry I was cast and I used the word fans when I meant to say I used the words fans when I meant to say trolls. And then it caught wind and everyone's like, she's hating on the fans because you were. And I was like, this is getting lost in translation. No, your message was crystal clear. Your message was crystal clear. I guarantee you spent a good chunk of time thinking about what you wanted to say before you finally hit that record button. As everybody should, honestly, look over what you're about to say. I try to do my best, and sometimes I still fail. If anything, it'd be even worse if it turned out that you actually did think about it quite a bit. Because that 100% proves that you meant what you said. But now you're trying to pass it off as well, that was just me firing off, firing at the hip sort of thing. I didn't mean it that way. Fuck off. And I was like, this is getting lost in translation. I'm responding to trolls, not fans. Then why did you use the word fans? And it got really swept up anyway. And I just had to put that out there, she concluded. Oh my gosh. Not only did she do a complete turnaround about her comments deriding fans, but she also noted that studios need to do better when it comes to adaptation. Oh my gosh. She said, you still took the check. I feel like those animations, they mean so much to people and they're so personal. I think people really connect to when they watched it and the point of their lives. And so I just feel like, and I'll say this, having been in one, I think that those studios, they need to do a better job at valuing that IP. I thought you said that it's really special. You mean having her be in her iconic outfit? Even if it was a nod, all you had to do was have her show up in that outfit for a couple seconds. Maybe even be self-aware of yeah, I'm not that comfortable in there, and then change into whatever outfit you were wearing in the show. Then maybe people would have given you a pass. I know I would have in terms of that. Because I would have been whatever, but I mean, that's just one possibly minor fix. The whole thing needed to be scrubbed to begin with. Again, look at that. You have all the iconic outfit, and then that. I love the little pupper. Want to give him a big old hug. It's really special, and people on Bebop, they worked very, very hard, and yet still failed. But it's just a special thing. Yeah, it's special, all right. It's a special piece of crap. Panita added, and I understand why the fans felt the way they did, but I also think that there's a lot of really cool, wonderful things that we did. And I also wish that we could have gotten the second season. Sometimes you just need one season to get things going, and then you prove yourself. No, what you proved is that you guys didn't care about the source material, that even the creator himself, Watanabe, said he was sick to his stomach. So it's not a matter of proving, and this self-entitlement right here needs to go away. You should not be thinking we need to prove to ourselves that this series is good. If you need to like fake it till you make it to yourself that like, no, this is a good series, then it's a terrible series. It goes to show that like you don't care about the franchise at all. Same with that Devil May Cry Netflix adaptation garbage. All right, but that was something that I caught, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious, of a complete 180. Respect the IP. What if it was, okay, then get in the original, get in the OG dress. All right, so the main thing that everyone's talking about is the Elder Scrolls Oblivion Remastered has been announced. It's announced today, April 22nd. A digital deluxe edition is available for $60, which includes the base game, some dragon armor, some weapons, some armor sets, art book and soundtrack, Shivering Isles and Knights of the Nine story expansion, some DLCs. Here's the rundown. This comes from Niche Gamer. Now, some people are really enjoying the remaster, but some people have also noticed that, again, the vile gender ideology has been inserted in there, and as we can see right here, they have changed body type from man and woman to type 1 and type 2. Bethesda continued to embrace the woke agenda and gender ideology in its recently released Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster. This is also from Fandom Pulse. Bethesda released the remastered today, and players quickly discovered that the company removed male and female gender options and replaced them with body types 1 and 2. And then, as seen in this video, character creation from down below. The original only allowed players to choose between male and female for the character gender. However, in the recently released remastered, male and female are no longer options, but now have been replaced with the retarded body type 1 and body type 2. And unfortunately, this change is not surprising. Bethesda and its partners have been pushing woke ideology and specifically gender ideology for quite some time with its games. Just last year, the Elder Scrolls Online introduced a gender-confused high eld. That's supposed to be eld or elf, named Tanlorin, who is voiced by a drag king. Is this supposed to be intentional? Drag king named Vico Ortiz. Okay. The official Elder Scrolls Online account on X shared, meet ESO's 2 newest companions, ready to age you across Tamriel, Tanlorin, and Zareth Var. Both will be available when Update 44 launches, either in the Crown Store or includes with an ESO Plus membership. There you go. So in a subsequent post, the company provided a profile on Tanlorin and referred to the character using themselves. Oh my gosh. No. You want to know what's funny is that if anybody during that time would talk like that, they would think that you were insane. That's the funny part about it. Tanlorin profile, brash and energetic. Tanlorin finds themselves, oh my gosh, in a plot that could change the course of the Eldermere Dominion. It then revealed that Tanlorin is a high elf, wears, okay, so that was a misspelling up above, wears medium armor, wields daggers. Its perks provides various lockpicking advantages. Finally, it shared that the character is voiced by the drag queen, apparently, or king, or whatever you want to call the freak. Furthermore, Bethesda is owned by Microsoft, which released its Gaming for Everyone product inclusion framework in the public back of 2024. The framework has an entire guide on representation, which has various woke talking points, such as ensuring, quote, characters are represented respectfully and authentically, and ensuring the assumption about players have been validated. It even suggests developers track data view on inclusive content ratio, which measures the proportion of content featuring or catering to unrepresented groups. Why? They can make their own video game, which they did. It was called Concord and Dustborn, by the way, and it failed miserably because they know that shit doesn't sell. In an interview with Game Industry to promote the framework, Xbox head of Gaming for Everyone and Suitability, Katie Jo Wright, said, if you don't intentionally include, you will unintentionally exclude. No, really. You thought another thing would happen if you didn't include any? Oh, my God. My quote would be, when you don't intentionally include, you will intentionally exclude. That's my quote. This is how we are as human beings. There's no shame in that. If you want to include, you have to be intentional about that. No. How about you just make a fucking good story, and then the characters that help explain that story will come naturally. You don't force it. If you love stories of heroism and some Deus Vault, there you go. And then what do you make of Bethesda remastering male and female out of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion? Stupid is what I would say. Dumb. But people are enjoying it. So if you enjoy it, I guess, I don't know. Do what you will. But that is all I have for today, for tonight's show. So we were on YouTube, Rumble, and X. So thanks to everyone who decided to follow. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and turn on notifications to get notified when I go live. I am tired, so I am dipping off. But thanks again. Should be online tomorrow doing some more gaming, 8 p.m. Central Time, so don't miss it. But yes, you guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. God bless. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.